Not too long ago, I just watched this video that says 100 cops try to stop a massive highway takeover, which is essentially about a group of protesters trying to get onto the highway to disrupt the traffic in order to push out their message-ish. It's basically a protest about a certain political subject that I will not talk too much about. But just watching this video, it gave me a lot of thoughts. It really solidifies my perspective on a lot of the protests that are going on around the world right now, which I think they're really bad at doing. So what is the problem with this specific protest? It's that obviously it's causing a lot of disturbance. It's a planned protest. They call it a protest, but it's clearly a riot. Depending on how you want to define a protest or a riot, but from what I can see, it's clearly a riot. Throughout this whole video, these, let's call them, individuals with lower IQs. These people have been emphasizing the fact that they're not doing a riot. This is a peaceful protest, when clearly what they're doing was not in any way peaceful. Just let me point out this pretty obvious one. If you say you're doing a peaceful protest and you're clearly armed against like the police weapons, the ways that police do crowd controls and situations that they have to arm themselves in, it's not really that peaceful when you armed yourself with protection gear. By any ways of peaceful, it just means that you wouldn't have a head-on collision or a head-on conflict with the police. When the police say that you're doing something that you're not supposed to be, or when the police orders you to get off wherever that you're standing at, you just get off. You can't just argue about that, oh, you can't tell me what to do. When police tells you to do something, just do something. Because you're probably best off to just follow the instructions of the police officers, especially in this case where they're obviously all armed and they're all prepared for this massive group of people. Nothing that these lower IQ'd individuals are doing can't justify why they're doing it. A lot of the times they just throw out personal insults towards the officers, and to the point that where you don't actually know what they're there for. They're arguing for rights, which they didn't even specify. Maybe they did and they edited it out, but from what I can see, it's just, I have no idea why they're there. And I have no idea what their intention is. By the way, you're not gonna get a whole lot of attention on highway either. I mean, you're gonna block the traffic, but there aren't that many people if you really think about it on the highway. You're probably getting your message more spread in the middle of a city somewhere where, you know, a lot of the people are. So if you actually want to spread some message, if you want to do protests, a lot of the times they hold these events on the cities because cities got a lot of people. And there are a lot of cars on highways, of course, but there are not really that many people when you consider that maybe each car only has like 1 or 2 people at best for the most part. A lot of protests are like this. Just Stop Oil. They did pretty much the same thing that these people did, except that they don't have that many people, but they did block off the traffic and they did cause a lot of troubles. So pretty much everybody hates them, even though they're trying to stop the oil. So they're climate activists, yes, but I would be ashamed of myself if I say that I'm a climate activist and the first thing people talk about is just stop oil. Anyways, why are all these protests bad? No one's gonna buy the message that these protesters are trying to push, because obviously they're causing troubles. Not everyone out there is on their own free time. They got places to go to, they got their lives to work with. People got their own stuff to do. A lot of times people just don't have the spare time to deal with the troubles that these people are making. So they don't really care about your message once you're causing a disturbance to the average individuals. Another thing is that these protesters are fighting with the wrong people. And what I mean by that is that the average daily individuals are not the ones that you should be causing trouble of. You should find some people who actually have influence to whatever the subjects that you are trying to push against. Like, say in this case, they're fighting over the police. Police obviously don't give a frick about what they're trying to push. And all these protesters did was to throw some insults, like a very dirty insult, personal insults, I should say, towards the police officers. There is no point of arguing against the police officers. They're there to do their job. These people are clearly causing a disturbance. They know exactly what they're doing. That's why they armed themselves for it. Even if you did win against the police, it's not like anything that you're arguing with it's actually gonna change, right? There is just no point of fighting with the police and fighting against the average individuals. All that they're doing will get themselves attentions. It is the exact reason why they're doing what they're doing. But like many people have already noticed, or you can actually just feel it, is that these violent protests that cause troubles and disturbance to the average individuals, they don't really get their message across. People will only remember them as the troublemaker or the group that caused the whole chaos in that one day. They wouldn't care about the message that they're trying to push. So why would you bother to do that? The reason for that, again, goes back to that these violence protests will get people's attention. When you look at the peaceful protests, when they're actually peaceful, when I say peaceful is that they don't disturb people. Maybe they go outside, hold a sign up that says whatever that they're pushing for, and they just stand there with their sign on it. Maybe have a microphone or something and yells whatever the message that they're trying to push against. Yeah. Those peaceful protests usually don't get enough attention. You might get some attention at the time that you're protesting. Maybe some people who walk by will notice you and look at the message, but it just doesn't get attention. And this video really shows the reason why that is. If this protest was actually a peaceful protest, I would probably never have seen this video. Because they did so much trouble to the public, to the police, they have successfully made themselves into people's eyes like me, who probably will never see this protest and probably will never see what they're trying to push against. These violent protests do work enough to the point that a random average individual who probably doesn't follow the topic that much will be able to know about. A lot of times peaceful protests don't do that because they don't cause trouble, they don't go on the news, or the police, when the police don't get involved, everything is so peaceful that no media is bothered trying to report it. Unless you're already in the community that you know of. Say, for instance, if it's a environmental protest, you see it. If you're already in the group, they will be like, yay, we did this protest on blah blah date. And that's not really an effective way to spread out your message, because an average individual who is not in the community, who are your target audience for the protest, will not know about it. So sometimes it does take to the extreme in order for people to notice you. So does that mean that we should all just do violent protests from this case? The answer is really simple. No, violent protest is always bad. Do not do that. Like I said a millionth time, violent protest only makes bad impression on the people who you're trying to push your message to. Do not disrupt innocent people who have nothing to do with you. There is a lot of things in life, and while you might be passionate in one thing, other people might not just have the same passion. To put it in simple words, you care about something and some people just don't care. I understand that protesting is to get people to care about what you care about or what other people cares about. I know that sounds bad, but a lot of times people are protesting things that people think are important to everyone. Say for instance, environmental protection protests, climate activists. I think these are really important things that people really should talk about more, But I think a lot of protests, as much as I hate to say it, they're not really effective in terms of the result of the protest, especially topics like climate and the environment. Everyone knows climate change is a thing. These kind of protests has been going on for a very long time, and the result of it is obviously, as you can see from the current modern days, nothing has changed. Personally, I think the effectiveness of protests are not that much, especially in a smaller scale protest. So in summary, don't do violent protests. They're not really protests. They cause trouble. No one is gonna listen to your message, and it's just bad for everyone. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Peace.